Hey everyone, welcome to AMC Movie Talk for movie fans. I'm your host, Ashley Mova, and this is the daily show where we give you all of the latest news from the world of movies, plus a little bit of insight into what it all means. Leading off the show today is AMC Movie News production manager, Dennis Zen.
Hello everyone, and welcome to a brand new episode of AMC Movie Talk. As you can see, I'm filling in for John today, but it's actually his birthday today, so make sure you hit up the YouTube comment section or Twitter and wish him a happy birthday.
Happy birthday, John. Also here at AMC's Christian Harloff.
Hey, happy birthday, John. Happy birthday to everyone else whose birthday it is today.
Happy birthday, everyone. Also here at AMC's Mark Ellis.
Thank you. And Ashley, if you could just tell everybody who this character on my shirt is real quick.
I don't even want to look at your shirt because I'm nervous.
That's a guy from Princess Bride, too.
We learned last week that District 9 and Chappie director Neil Blomkamp would be taking on the next Alien movie. However, details about the plot, cast, and direction were scarce. Recently, while promoting Chappie on Sky Movies, both Blomkamp and Sigourney Weaver, who played the iconic Ripley in the Alien movie franchise, dropped news that the next Alien film will indeed center around Sigourney Weaver as Ripley and will essentially disregard Alien 3 and Alien Resurrection. Dennis, what do you think of this decision?
I love it. I think it's a fantastic decision. It's a smart move because a lot of people have already blocked out Alien 3 and Alien Resurrection from their minds, so might as well just make a movie that follows that. I think Amy Rose Schnepp and Miri discussed this on yesterday's show, and now we've got an answer. And I like that they're centering around Sigourney Weaver as Ripley. She had mentioned before that she didn't feel like the story had been finished in her eyes, and I think this is a way for her to complete that journey. Christian?
Yeah, I agree with you. I think that it would just complicate matters to continue it after 4 because it's just so much farther into the future from the original one. And most people, I mean, I know that some people do actually really like 3. I don't think anyone likes the 4th one, but the 3rd one, some people do like it. But most people are near and dear to the first 2. So to continue it right after Aliens and to actually have a conclusion to Ripley's story is something I'm very interested about. Apparently Neil Blomkamp as well. What I'm curious about is how this plays into Ridley Scott's. Are they prequels or are they not? Does Prometheus count still as the canon? I assume that it does because it still carries right into Alien, but will there be a follow-up to Prometheus that will now tie into Aliens, and now the 3rd movie that is now Neil Blomkamp's?
Yeah, I think you could take some of the lore that you got in Prometheus and then incorporate it into these films. And I was so excited that Neil Blomkamp is going to be doing this anyway. I think he's such a talented filmmaker, especially in the realm of sci-fi. And I love that we can do this with movies now, that we can look back and say, you know what, we didn't like those other ones. So those never happened. Okay, and we're back. Aliens just took place. Now we get this one. I think the fact that Sigourney Weaver's coming back and kind of tying into what you were saying about Prometheus, Christian, is that this could be a passing of the torch from Ridley Scott being the caretaker of this franchise. I know James Cameron did Aliens, but if him is passing the torch to Neil Blomkamp and having Sigourney Weaver in that role as kind of the mother of something else that's going to be taking over for her, this is a really exciting prospect.
Or they're coming together and collaborating. Like maybe whatever the next movie is in the Ridley Scott Prometheus 2, that somehow it ties in now to the lore of Blomkamp. I don't know, maybe not, but it's fascinating to think about.
And also explains that concept art we had seen of Hicks in those images that Blomkamp was releasing, because in the 3rd one he dies. Now that doesn't happen, and maybe he'll be in this next one.
I love that.
It's such a buzzkill to kick off Alien 3. The first thing you see is a computer that says Hicks is dead, and you're like, wow, game over.
I'm actually now want to go back. I guess they had an Alien video game that came out, Alien Isolation. Now I want to go play that before to get ramped up for this one, and maybe watch the first 2 again.
Yeah.
All right, what's next?
According to Badass Digest, new possible plot details for the Rocky spinoff movie Creed, starring Sylvester Stallone as Rocky and Michael B. Jordan as Apollo Creed's son Adonis, have been discovered. A possible leaked synopsis excerpt reads, once in the city of brotherly love, Adonis tracks Rocky Stallone down and asks him to be his trainer. Despite his insistence that he is out of the fight game for good, Rocky sees in Adonis the strength and determination he had known in Apollo, the fierce rival who became his closest friend. Agreeing to take him on, Rocky trains the young fighter, even as the former champ is battling an opponent more deadly than any he faced in the ring. Creed opens on November 25th in AMC theaters. Christian, what do you think about this possible storyline of Rocky being sick?
I like the way I control that camera to go right on there. As far as the storyline goes, what the first thing that they had also mentioned in that synopsis is that he's playing his son, Creed's son. Originally, I thought it was grandson. So to me, that's kind of fascinating because if Creed died in 85, if we're going to go by the timeline, he'd be 30 years old. So it must mean that he's maybe halfway through his boxing career, and he doesn't have Creed's last name when the movie starts, is what the synopsis says as well. So maybe by working with Rocky, tells him to embrace it. Maybe he has some animosity against his father. I don't know. That element will be fun because it'll be good to see the Creed family and the Balboa family again work together. Now, as far as Rocky being sick, we don't know what the sickness is. Mark and I were talking about it off air. Was in Rocky V, and I know we like to pretend that didn't exist, but he was battling a form of dementia. And then in Rocky Balboa, that kind of went away, and they said that it kind of reversed itself. It could be a form of dementia that he's battling. I hope that's not the case. I hope that because the reason I don't want to say I hope he gets cancer. I hope, but I hope as far as like if it's cancer, that's a fight Rocky could win. Dementia, he's not winning. A fight against cancer, he could win. I don't think they necessarily have to just kill Rocky for drama effect. Like, oh, we want this to be an Oscar kind of movie, and you need a sad death. Let's make it like The Champ, or let's make it when Mickey died. You don't need it. If it happens, fine. But I trust in Coogler and Stallone and B. Jordan, so I'm digging what I'm hearing.
Yeah, and also, they're talking about maybe it's Alzheimer's, which another fight he couldn't win, Parkinson's,
right.
With what Muhammad Ali has. And they did kind of foreshadow some stuff in 5 and then kind of skipped it over in Rocky Balboa. I thought that movie was a nice send-off. If they didn't have another Rocky movie or this movie afterwards, I would have been fine with Rocky Balboa because 5 was really disappointing, the weakest of the franchise. So, I don't know. I hope they just handle it with a more grounded tone that Rocky Balboa had versus kind of the top nature of like 5 and 4 and 3 and stuff like that. Mark?
Well, I think that you bring up Rocky 3. This is going to be kind of Rocky 3 through a funhouse mirror because you have now, it looks like it's going to be Apollo's son is now seeking out Rocky's counsel, whereas in Rocky 3, Rocky knew he had to train a different way, and so he summoned the counsel of his friend Apollo. And so now this kid is going to be like, I need to learn how to fight like a champion, so he goes to Rocky. I think this is the perfect way to reinvigorate this franchise, and a lot like what Neil Blomkamp is doing with Aliens, I think that you can do the same thing with Rocky V. You can just be like, yeah, that never really happened. So it could be cancer, it could be dementia. I think it'd be interesting either way to see. I mean, look, a lot of boxers are going to go through some sort of dementia or Parkinson's later in their career or in their life. So that would be more topical, especially with everything that you see with stories about the NFL and guys getting their head knocked
Look at Freddie
around.
Roach. Freddie Roach himself. If they approach something to where it's Freddie Roach and Freddie Roach obviously has made a career of it, and he's battling it. That would be interesting to me to see how Rocky could, overcome that. And you don't have to. I don't like to kill the characters just for the sake of being dramatic. I don't think you need to kill Rocky, and especially if you want to. This might not be the end of this franchise. I mean, if Creed does well, and if Creed wins the title. If Adonis Creed wins the title, you might want to see Creed 2, Creed 3. And I think that that's the goal, and I think it should be the goal to move the franchise if it is indeed a great movie. And I think what's funny with the Rocky 3 you brought, Apollo Creed came to Balboa to say, hey, listen. And I think that now it's his son doing it again.
Oh, that's right.
I think that he approaches him in the gym, and it's just like, Balboa's like, yeah, they won't leave me alone. So I'm into it.
As long as they don't use it as a cheesy plot device,
Yes.
and they handle it, with, a little more grace,
I think the trust that I have in that is the fact that it is Michael B. Jordan playing that role, that it's not just some dude, like, God bless Tommy Gunn, but that's not the guy that you want playing somebody who's going to be in multiple films. Michael B. Jordan can play that character for a long time. He's a great actor.
Yeah, for sure. All right, now on to the buy or sell segment. Ashley, what do we got?
The latest issue of Empire magazine features Spectre, the upcoming 24th Bond film, on the cover, along with some never-before-seen photos from the movie. In these images, we get our first look at Dave Bautista as henchman Mr. Hinks and Lea Seydoux as Dr. Madeline Swan. Spectre opens on November 6th and also stars Daniel Craig, Christoph Waltz, Ralph Fiennes, Naomi Harris, and Monica Bellucci. Mark, buy or sell these Bond images?
I'm buying Batista named Mr. Hinks, like a kitty. That's a great name for a Bond villain. And yes, I'm buying any images I see from this film. I saw a couple stills, and I saw James Bond pull a gun somebody on the top of a mountain, and I was instantly like, this movie is gonna be awesome. So yeah, I'm buying all those images. This is really exciting to me.
I buy the images as well, especially the Dave Bautista one, because he just looks badass. Yeah. He looks like he's gonna kick some ass. He's not a trained actor. He was in Guardians of the Galaxy, and he was great in that limited role. And I think this is the perfect type of movie for him to play because he's not going to stretch his acting range, but it maybe give him a little bit more to do than Guardians. What do you think?
Oh yeah, I buy it because what it ultimately does for me with these pictures, and I think what pictures should do, is get you excited for the movie. I look at these images and I'm like, when is it? Wait, come out soon, because, and I said it. I've goofed in my most anticipated list because originally I didn't put it in there, and the more and more I see pictures of it, and because I just heard that it was coming, I'm like, yeah, I want to see the Bond movie for sure. And then as I see the pictures, I'm like, yeah, I really want to see this. And you're absolutely right. Batista is cast first and foremost for his look. Yeah. And when you see him in that, you're like, wait a minute, that's not a guy you want to mess with. And Bond's going to have trouble with this dude. You know he will. And then the picture of Bond with the silencer is great, and watching Mendes working. Yeah, a total buy for me. I'm very excited for this film.
Who is he pulling the gun on?
Yeah.
Why is he wearing Christian's newsboy cap? There's so many questions.
Well done.
All right, what's next?
Also in the latest Empire issue, several new Fantastic Four photos featuring shots of the main cast, Miles Teller, Michael B. Jordan, Kate Mara, and Jamie Bell. Within the article, director Josh Trank said this about the upcoming comic book movie. There's the opportunity to make something that is challenging and tragic and dramatic. The opportunity is right there in the material. We'd rather steer in that direction as opposed to just embracing a tone that comes right off the page. Dennis Byers saw these pictures and what Josh Trank is saying.
Well, I actually sell these pictures, but I buy what Josh Trank is saying. The pictures to me, especially these three in the corner, Miles, Kate, and Michael B. Jordan, they look like they could be out of Mission Impossible, like the next Mission Impossible movie. And then the one with Jamie Bell, I mean, that could be anything. It could be an indie drama for all I know.
That's literally him fixing a bike
Yeah,
on his house.
Yeah.
So those aren't too exciting, but I like what Josh Trank is saying. He's saying, look, we're not going to confine ourselves to what the comic book series is. And obviously fans of the comic books are scared when someone says that, but I think for him, it's not a thing where it's like, well, we're just going to totally disregard it and we're whatever. But I think what he wants to do is make sure that the movie is good, and that if it's going a certain direction or a certain tone, that they should follow that instead of going like, no, we have to keep exactly to what's on the comic book. Mark?
I think fans are more accepting when they hear things like that than they were maybe 10 years ago before Marvel really came to the forefront, where you can trust filmmakers with the source material to take some liberties with a comic but still staying faithful to what the actual, to the themes of what the Fantastic Four comics were trying to say. In reference to the pictures, I mean, I'll buy them because they don't look stupid. Like, that's a huge thing for me, is that they don't look dumb. Like, it's not silly, you know? Like, you remember when the X-Men Days of Future Past picture came out, when it was like Beast was on top of Wolverine, and it looked like somebody walked in on them sleeping together, and I was like, what is that? Like, I'm glad it's not that, you know? I'm glad it looks cool. They look like they're ready to make a plan to fight somebody.
Christian?
I'm with you. I buy what Trank is saying, and I sell the pictures. It's just everyone standing around. Yeah. That's all it is. They're literally
Jamie Bell's fixing a bike, Christian.
He's still standing around fixing a bike. He's standing around.
Is it 90 minutes of that?
Yeah, standing around. But with the exception of Mara, where there seems to be a lot of bodies and things around, so there's some sort of action. I don't sell it because I don't think that the movie looks bad. It's just these particular actions don't give us anything new from the trailer that we saw. It just looks like it could have been pulled from the trailer for the most part. As far as what Trank said, look, I've had my reservations about this movie. I've heard the rumors and whatnot about certain. Oh, sorry. Certain things that were happening on set that I've been cautious about. But when you have him come out and say these things, and he's talking about his vision and being confident in that vision, you have to say, okay, then show me what you got, because I've been interested in it. My initial stance on this is I want to see it, and I don't mind that they're changing things around. That was always my stance on it. I don't care, because Trank has proven himself in the past to make that. When he did Chronicle, that was a quality movie. That was a lot of fun. Granted, it wasn't source material that people had fallen in love with, but the last two Fantastic Four movies were not good. Yeah. So let's see what he does with it. I still pay attention to the rumors. I hope that I'm completely 100% wrong, but I loved what he said.
All right. What's next?
According to Deadline, the Tomb Raider reboot will be written by Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles and Snow White and the Huntsman scribe Evan Doherty. The movie is based on the popular video game franchise, which has already had a pair of previous movies starring Angelina Jolie that grossed over $400 million worldwide. Christian Byers saw the idea of a Tomb Raider reboot written by Doherty.
I sell it. I know a lot of you guys loved or really enjoyed the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles movie. I thought one of the things that was the big problem with it, besides Lieberman's directing was the writing. I thought that they put the Turtles in there way too late as a buddy group. I thought they focused some of the main problems was the dialogue and just the overall scenes. So to hear that he's writing Tomb Raider doesn't get me excited. I want to see like a cool, gritty, fun Tomb Raider movie, not a campy, cheesy one. Now I might be wrong. He might actually be writing that version. Maybe that's the version he wants to go down. But if we're going off of what he's done lately, I sell it.
Mark?
Writing is the hardest thing for me to pinpoint as from page to what actually came about on screen. So again, I don't know what that dude wrote with Ninja Turtles, and I don't know how much of that made it to the movie, but I gotta agree with Christian here where it's like that movie had so many things you could have done right with it and it went wrong. I mean, Ninja Turtles, I liked it for the most part, but it had a 10-minute scene where you're going down a hill. Come on, guys. Is that going to be Tomb Raider? Because Tomb Raider has such a cool premise. It's a female Indiana Jones. She's looking for cool stuff. It's a really attractive woman. She's running around all over the world. That could be awesome, or it could be brutal, and it gives me panic. I'm not going to throw this guy under the bus, but it doesn't get me excited yet.
Well, I'm going to sell it. I didn't hate Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. I found some of it quite enjoyable. Some of it was obviously terrible, but the writing wasn't the part that was keeping me entertained, you know? And then also you look at his history and resume, you got Snow White and the Huntsman and Divergent. Those two movies were very tedious and boring, so at least in my opinion. And so I don't know what he's gonna do with this. And I'm actually looking forward to a Tomb Raider reboot because they rebooted the video game franchise and they took it back as like kind of like an origin thing. I played the game, I really enjoyed it, and I think they can do some cool stuff with the series, but I'm just not sure about him as a writer. All right, guys, that's it for Buy or Sell. Before we get on to Mailbag, I want to remind you that we're going to take your live viewer questions at the end of the show. You can tweet us at AMC Movie News. And what do we got in the mailbag?
Bruce Smallstad writes, "Hi AMC crew, you guys have mentioned a lot lately, especially here lately in relation to RDJ as Iron Man, that the character is bigger than the actor. However, we can't deny that many actors leave behind enormous shoes to fill. So I have a question. Supposing that any films were being remade or rebooted, whether it be a superhero movie, Star Wars, The Godfather, Back to the Future, The Sound of Music, LOTR, etc., what character/role do you think would be the most intimidating for an actor to take on? Thanks."
Well, there's a lot. There's a lot of iconic roles that I think a lot of actors or actresses would be a little wary of taking on. But I think the biggest one is one of the movies he mentions is The Godfather and Vito Corleone. Yeah. I mean, you're taking over such an iconic role. It was played by Marlon Brando, one of the most famous actors in Hollywood history, and you would worry about embarrassing yourself because everyone knows the way that character was, the way he talked, the way he acted. And so you either try and do that and then you come off as kind of like a ripoff and just like cheesily done, or you do something totally different and maybe people just hate it. What are you guys' choices?
Well, I mean, first of all, one that's going to happen pretty soon that I'm sure is super intimidating is the Joker with Leto. I want to see that's got to be after going from, first of all, when Ledger did it, coming off of Jack Nicholson, and now Leto coming off of Ledger, that's going to be really tough. Another one we were just talking about was Rocky. If they ever reboot Rocky, who's going to be able to do that better than Stallone? If you had another one, Indiana Jones, they're talking about for sure, and Han Solo. Those are other ones. Those are all very intimidating roles. And the last one is Jack Nicholson from One Flew Over the Cuckoo's Nest. Is that I bet you sooner or later they will remake that, and that's got to be really tough for someone to go in and play that role.
Yeah, it seems like the era that people love remaking nowadays, or at least talking about it, is 1980s films. And so in that vein, I'm going to say that I think Michael J. Fox in Back to the Future is simply irreplaceable. You can have a great performance by another young actor playing Marty McFly, and it won't get close to what Michael J. Fox did. There's just something magical about his personality in that role that I don't think you're ever going to see again in a time travel film, in any movie. I think Eddie Murphy in Beverly Hills Cop and Michael Keaton as Beetlejuice. They always circle around, are we going to do a Beetlejuice where the original Beetlejuice is still in it, then there's another Beetlejuice, or do we reboot Beetlejuice with somebody else playing him? I think it can be done, but I think it's really, really tough to get that back.
Yeah, I had a bunch of the ones you named off, like Han Solo and Indiana Jones, but I also had John McClane from Die Hard, Travis Bickle, Taxi Driver, and Ripley. We talked about it earlier. You know, I think part of the reason that Neil Blomkamp's like, oh, I want to do one with Ripley is it's kind of hard to replace her. You can, try and do like a rebooted movie with a younger actress, but I don't know if that actress can pull off what Sigourney Weaver did.
Ace Ventura.
Denise Richards as a nuclear physicist.
That's
from
true.
James Bond.
Yeah, real good.
GoldenEye. Was it GoldenEye? Yeah.
No, the GoldenEye was the good one.
Okay.
Andre the Giant and the Princess Bride.
Yeah. All right. What's next?
Brandon Johnson writes, "Hey AMC movie talkers, love the news and the point of views from everyone on the show. Y'all influence me to watch movies I normally would never give the time of day. Obviously, you guys love movies and you watch a ton of movies, so my questions are, do you watch some movies because it's kind of a part of the job? And are there movies you look at and go, I'm never going to watch that crap? And are there crappy movies you see just for the sake of the show and discussion? Thanks."
Yes, we all love movies, and sometimes we watch ones that aren't so great. I think what Brandon's asking more is, do we go purposely to go see movies that we're not interested in? Yes, it's part of our job. I mean, just for an example, I went to go watch 50 Shades of Grey. I had posted it on, I think, on Instagram or Twitter or Facebook, and people were, why are you seeing that? Blah, 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 blah. I'm like, because it's part of the conversation. I mean, it was the #1 movie for 2 weeks in a row. There's going to be sequels. People are talking about it. I just felt like I needed to see it. What about you guys?
Well, yeah, that's what we do.
Yeah.
As far as if we've been doing this for a long time now, going and review movies on just on our channel. We've been doing it for like 6-7 years, and you have to see everything. So there are movies that when it feels like a job.
Yeah.
When you're walking and you look at the marquee and you go, ugh. You're walking into this thing and you're just like, I can't believe it. And sometimes it's a pleasant surprise,
Yeah.
or you walk out and you're super happy, but 9 out of 10 times it's usually like, ugh. But the opposite of that is that when you get to walk into fantastic movies that you do all the time. So the job has obvious benefits, but yeah, some of it is to watch the stinkers. Found footage horror movies.
Mark?
Yeah, I mean, look, it's always worth sitting through Transformers 4 when you get to see other free movies that summer, Like, I'm never going to complain about this job. It's not going to the coal mines. It's one of the coolest jobs you could possibly have. I think that I give myself an unwritten rule that once a year I can just walk out of a movie. If I'm not feeling it, I'm just like, you know what, screw it, I'm done. I can't handle this. I think that part of the other question he was asking is, do you like watching crappy movies for the sake of watching crappy movies? Or maybe that's, I've never liked that. I've never liked hating a movie on purpose, other than Planet of the Dinosaurs, if you haven't seen that. I always root for movies. I want them to be good. When they're not good, it makes me feel bad. I don't enjoy giving a movie a bad review, so I will sit through anything. I'll be honest about my appraisal of the situation, but I root for movies to be good.
Well, I disagree with you. I enjoy watching movies that I'm like, oh man, this is gonna be crap. I don't know. You guys seen The Room?
Yeah,
The Room?
I've never seen it. No.
Oh, you've never
No,
seen
I
The
know.
Room?
I'm
Have
not
you seen
gonna
it?
do it.
Oh,
Yeah.
do it.
I know.
Treat
everyone says
yourself.
do it.
Treat
Yeah.
yourself
Yeah.
to that. I definitely. I don't. Yeah, I think seeing movies. Yeah, it's a surprise, a pleasant surprise, like you said. Sometimes you go in not expecting something good, and something good comes out of it. So it can go both ways. All right, on to our live viewer questions. You can tweet us at AMC Movie News, and Ashley's going to pick out a few. Ashley, what do we got?
Sebastian Culligan writes, in horror, vampires, werewolves, and zombies are done to death, but why aren't there many scary mummy films?
Because there's not a lot of talking with them. They can be scary for sure, and they've been done. But the problem is that you go against the lore if one of them starts talking, and I know they did that with the mummy. But
Wait, is he talking? No, get him out. Mummies
That's
can't
not
talk.
an official mummy. He's opening his lips.
Well, I think the problem with the mummies is that I think you could do a great mummy film because there's so much history with ancient Egypt and the fact that they used to do this and they believed that there was so many things going on in the afterlife. However, when you reboot a franchise and you make it more of an action Indiana Jonesy kind of ripoff than a horror film, that's going to bury you for a little while. However, what we were talking about earlier is that you can take franchises and you can either reboot them or you can say, you know what, those last 2 movies didn't even exist. I am ready for another mummy film that is a horror movie because you can have a villain that doesn't talk at all. Michael Myers, somebody like Jason, somebody like that.
Sure. It can be done, absolutely.
Yeah.
But I just think as far as why they haven't been done a lot, that's one of the challenges. Like you said, you want to see a really good one made. You can throw a lot of vampire ones out there because there's so much personality in vampires for sure that you can, and they can be overdone, and they have been. Same thing with Wolfman and stuff. Who's the guy before he turns into the wolf? You're paying attention to that story. Now with the mummy, you can, and I hope that they do make a really good scary one, but it's just a little bit more limiting than the other one.
Yeah, I'm not casting Vince Vaughn as the mummy.
Right.
And I think visually,
Hey, what do
too,
you mean? I got this thing around my face.
visually too, you want to make it scary looking. You don't want it to look like the guy with toilet paper wrapped around his face, right? So I think that's a big part of it. All right, Ashley, what's next?
Darth Vanquish writes, if you could have any director go back and to redirect any film, what director and film would you want to see be redone?
So the redirecting the same film that they directed before?
I think you can take any director and you can say you go back. So like Steven Spielberg, I want you to go back and handle The Phantom Menace and see how that goes. That's what I'm getting from that question.
Yeah.
I don't know if he's asking for the same director to redirect his own movie.
You just get a mulligan.
Well, yeah, like let's say George Lucas goes back and redirects the prequels. You can't take Steven Spielberg and move him there. Like what director that has already done a movie that you thought he could have done better? A better job.
Fine. In my world, I can put Spielberg with Phantom Menace, and my mummies are going to talk.
I'll give you a Spielberg one. I have him redo 1941. I think he could probably with some actors today.
Yeah. That movie's so bad.
But that's the point of the question. Is that maybe he can with new comedy writers and are we putting? I don't know if we're putting them in the same time frame when he did it, but if it was today redirecting the same movie,
I say it could be.
It could be today. Then the 1941 because he could probably because you're farther removed from World War II now. You can have some different. I mean, not that Belushi at the time was about as big as you get, but with the comedy actors today too and different writers and maybe Apatow working with him is still maybe 1941 could be something different.
Yeah, I think I might give John Carpenter. I think it's a classic film, but I think Escape from New York. If you could redo that today, I'm looking at a film that didn't quite. It was a little bit too ambitious for the effects of its day, and if you could redo something like that and do it in the modern day with that character, I think that might be an interesting film to revisit.
I'm not sure. I mean, this one's a tough one because if you're thinking about, I guess it would be George Lucas redoing the prequels. I don't know if he would do them any better, but maybe all the notes and criticisms over the tens and decades that maybe he would take those into consideration, take out Jar Jar, take out the midichlorians and all that stuff.
If you read, like John and I have been talking about this book, the How Star Wars Conquered the Universe by Chris Taylor, and he chronicles what happened in that, and that Lucas' first draft, if you read the first draft of what he had, Phantom Menace, was 1,000 times better. Anakin was a teenager. Jar Jar was not a Gungan. He was a normal, basic speaking alien, and Obi-Wan was the protagonist. All the stuff that was going. So I would like to see him do that version, or go through a few different drafts and hit number 5 and listen to his friends. Like that book is fascinating. Read it.
Oh, you know what I got? I'm busy having Spielberg do Phantom Menace when we could have Spielberg do Indiana Jones 4 again.
There you go.
That's the movie. That's why the question was written. Let's get the time machine.
All right, what's next?
Thomas D. writes, what genre would you like to see Christopher Nolan tackle next?
Something different. I mean, he's kind of done the sci-fi, kind of mystery, thriller type of thing. So, I don't know, maybe...
Fantasy film would be cool.
Yeah, fantasy, or maybe even, I don't know. I mean, I want to say comedy, but at the same time, there's very little comedy in most of his movies.
Slapstick comedy. Yeah. I want to see banana peels. I want to see pies in faces. I think he should go back to doing something like the Prestige. I think a smaller film that's mystery, maybe even a more serious Clue, something like that, where a whodunit, where you're
a spy thriller would be cool too.
Yeah, I want to be looking at a bunch of characters and not know who's behind what, who's pulling the strings. That's what I want to see Christopher Nolan do.
What about a political thriller? I think you do that pretty well.
Anything with thriller with that guy, I'm on board. He can make anything. That's he really gets you on the edge of your seat, kind of waiting whether or not you're in space or wherever you're on your edge of your seat, waiting to see what's going to happen next. So thrillers like Memento, what he did with that kind of, and that was simple and that kind of whodunit type thing. So I'd like to see him do that because he's consistently writing with his brother and stuff too. So he's a great writer. So I'd like to see him do pretty much anything.
Okay. All right. What's next?
Micah Mouse writes, next week, Marvel is going to be making an announcement. What do you believe it will be?
I have no clue.
You think Spider-Man? You think it all?
Maybe.
I'm thinking about that because I heard this news from Robert Downey Jr. tweeting that he tweeted out a picture of himself as Iron Man. Then he said, this is, and then 8 days later, we're going to have a huge announcement. And I don't know if Robert Downey Jr. is the one tweeting that, if he's tweeting about some other character that's going to factor into the Marvel Universe. My first thought was Spider-Man, that you're going to get an announcement, if it's not a casting announcement, if it's at least who the character is, who the Spider-Man character that the actor who's still unknown is playing. Are we getting Miles Morales? Are we getting Peter Parker? What's going on down there? So it might just be, maybe we've come to the conclusion of when Iron Man is leaving the franchise, or maybe there's some sort of Iron Man wrinkle. I think it's going to be about Iron Man as opposed to somebody else in the Marvel universe.
I don't know. I think because Civil War is only about, a little more than a year away. So you want to start finding out a couple more details. I'm not going to give away too much. You're probably going to get the majority of the details after the Avengers comes out this May, because we'll further the story along.
Hopefully right after the Avengers, like the post-credits.
Yeah, and well, that's the thing, is that maybe, and a lot of reports have been coming out lately too, and I've been saying it since the beginning, I think Marvel has way more control over this thing with the Sony deal than in that initial response. Marvel knows what's going on. They're controlling this entire thing. Don't be surprised if there was something that was shot beforehand. Maybe that, whether or not we announced that who the actor is, probably not. But I wouldn't even be surprised if you saw like a picture with Iron Man, Chris Evans, and then in the middle was just Spidey with the mask on. That would blow the internet out of the water.
I think they're going to announce who it is.
You think so?
They need to soon. Yeah. They're going to start shooting Civil War, and so they need an actor for that, and might as well just do it. Get more hype for Avengers. People probably expecting a Spider-Man post-credit scene. So
it's a cool time for him to tweet something like that and say that in a week you're going to have some big news, because you're thinking, okay, well, what else does he have going on in his career right now? What's going on? Does that mean that right now for the next 7 days, Robert Downey Jr. is focusing on his Marvel character? That means that maybe they are filming something. Maybe it's a post-credit scene, maybe it's something else, but it shows the fans that Robert Downey Jr. is focusing on Marvel right now, and that's always cool.
Not the Judge Part 2.
That's right. And shout out to Micah Mouse. That dude is a AMC diehard.
Oh, yeah.
Rock All right, let's do one more.
All right, Alex Day writes, what are your box office predictions for Focus this weekend?
Box office predictions this weekend?
I have no clue, to be honest. I haven't been
for Focus.
tracking.
Well, look, I think 50 Shades of Grey is going to continue going downward. I think it had like a 70% drop from opening to second weekend. I think Kingsman is going to hold better than 50 Shades of Grey will, but I think number one is going to be Focus. I think Focus is going to win pretty big. I think you're looking at 30, 35 million.
I don't think it's going to be that big. I think that people still have that fart smell of After Earth in there. So I think you're looking about 20, maybe 25, but I think Focus will be number one. And then I think 50 Shades of Grey will hold. Then I think Lazarus, then Kingsman, and I don't know, Paddington. No, SpongeBob.
Yeah, I'm thinking 20-something. People still haven't totally gotten over After Earth. And also, I think the trailers haven't really given a good job of what the movie's about, other than Will Smith, Margot Robbie, and it's a con movie. So
that's a pretty good sell in February.
Okay. All right, guys, that's it for this episode. I want to thank the people joining me at the table. Christian, where can people find you?
Easily. Find me on Twitter. Follow me over there at Christian Harloff, as well as Instagram, Christian Harloff.
And Mark?
Follow me on Twitter at 5150Ellis. Just posted a new link to my brand new stand-up set. I'm at the Comedy Store this Saturday and Sunday.
And Ashley, where can people find you online?
Twitter, Instagram at Ashley Mova. Happy Thursday, guys.
And you guys can find me on Twitter at ThinkHero, on Instagram, Dennis.tzeng. And make sure to subscribe to the YouTube channel for AMC Theaters. That's youtube.com/AMC Theaters. And we'll see you guys tomorrow.
Hey everyone, if you like this video, click that thumbs up button and make sure to subscribe to our AMC Movie News YouTube channel. It's free and helps you stay up to date with all the latest movie news, as well as our daily AMC Movie Talk show. Also, make sure that you follow us on Facebook and Twitter to stay up to date with all of our special promotions, contests, and prize giveaways.